Lee Taman walked down the metal corridor of Omega-7 Station. His boots made loud sounds on the floor. The air smelled like oil and something he could not name. Other aliens moved past him. They looked at him with strange eyes. Some showed their teeth. He was not sure if they were smiling or warning him. The human had been in space for 3 years now. He knew how things worked out here. Aliens did not think much of humans. They saw them as new and weak. Most aliens had been flying between stars for thousands of years. Humans had only been doing it for 50 years. Taemin stopped at a large door. The sign said, Bloodfang Company, in 5 different alien languages. He took a deep breath and pressed the button. The door opened with a hiss. Inside he saw them, his new team. They were the most dangerous group of alien fighters in this part of the galaxy. They were also the group that ate their commanders. A large reptile with red scales stood up first. He was twice as tall as Taemin and had arms like tree trunks. Sharp teeth filled his mouth. This was Crix, the team leader. His yellow eyes looked down at the human. So, Crix said in a deep voice, they sent us another soft meat bag. The other aliens laughed. A bug-like creature with 4 arms giggled in a high voice. This was Vorthak. He had killed more enemies than anyone could count. His black eyes never blinked. In the corner sat a being made of living crystal. Goros was quiet but deadly. He could lift heavy weapons that would crush a human. The crystal parts of his body glowed red when he was angry. I am Commander Lee Taemin, the human said. I will be leading this team from now on. More laughter filled the room. Crix walked closer to Taemin. The alien's claws made scratching sounds on the floor. You know what happened to the last human? Who tried to lead us? Crix asked. He became dinner, Vorthak said with his clicking voice. The one before that ran away after 2 days. Goros added. His voice sounded like rocks falling. Taemin did not move. He looked up at Crix without fear. I know about the other commanders, all 17 of them. Then you know you will not last. Long? Crix said. Maybe, Taemin said. But I am still here. And you are still my team. The door opened again. Captain Kim So-young walked in. She was another human, but she worked for the station. Her job was to help new commanders get started. Commander Lee, she said. Your first mission briefing is ready. What kind of job? Crix asked. He did not look at Kim So-young. His eyes stayed on Taemin. Simple extraction, Kim So-young said. Get someone out of a mining planet, easy money. How easy? Vorthak asked. The report says light guards, maybe 10 or 20 fighters. You could do this job with your eyes closed. The aliens looked at each other. This was the kind of job they liked. Quick, simple, and not very dangerous. When do we leave? Taemin asked. Tomorrow morning, Kim So-young said. Your ship is ready. After she left, the aliens went back to what they were doing before. Crix cleaned his weapons. Vorthak read something on a small screen. Goros just sat and glowed. Taemin found a corner and put down his bag. He had not brought much. Just his clothes, some books, and a few personal things. Hey, meatbag, Crix called out. Where did you fight before this? Earth Defense Force, Taemin said. 5 years. Earth Defense. Vorthak laughed. What did you defend? Your little blue planet from space rocks? Pirates mostly, Taemin said. Some rebel groups. A few alien raiders who thought humans would be easy targets. And were you? Goros asked. The raiders are not around to answer that question. The room got quiet for a moment. Then Crix laughed. Big talk for a small human, the reptile said. We will see how big you talk when real fighting starts. That night Taemin could not sleep well. The ship was old and made strange sounds, but that was not what kept him awake. He knew the aliens were planning something. They always tested new commanders. Some tests were small tricks. Others were deadly. He had asked for this job. Captain Kim So-young had been surprised. Most humans did not want to lead alien teams. It was dangerous and usually ended badly. But Taemin had wanted this exact team. Bloodfang Company was famous. not just for eating commanders, but for being the best fighters money could buy. They had never lost a mission. They had also never kept a commander for more than a month. Taman had studied their files. He knew how they fought. He knew what they liked and what they hated. Most importantly, he knew why they killed their commanders. It was not just because they were mean. It was because the commanders did not understand them. They tried to lead aliens the same way they would lead humans. That never worked. The next morning they got ready to leave. The ship was called Dark Fang. It was painted black and had enough weapons to destroy a small city. "Have you ever flown in space before, meatbag?" Crix asked as they got on board. "Few times," Taman said. "Try not to throw up on my ship," Vorthak said. The trip to the mining planet would take 2 days. Taman spent the time watching his team. He saw how they moved and talked. He learned their habits. Crix liked to show his strength. He would lift heavy things and practice fighting moves. Vorthak was always watching and listening. He noticed everything but said little. Goro seemed slow, but Taman knew he was very smart. On the second day, Vorthak came to talk to him. "You are not like the other humans," the bug alien said. "How so? You do not try to make friends. You do not tell us about honor and working together, you just watch. Should I be doing those things?" The last commander did. He talked about teamwork and trust. Crix ate him on day 4. What did the commander before that do? He tried to be tough. He shouted orders and threatened us. He lasted 6 days. And the one before that? She tried to be smart. She made plans and gave speeches about strategy. 3 days, Taman nodded. "What do you think I should do?" Vorthak's black eyes looked at him for a long time. "I think you already know what you are doing." When they reached the mining planet, everything looked normal. The planet was brown and rocky. Big machines dug holes in the ground. The target building sat on a hill overlooking the main mining site. "Looks easy," Crix said as he checked his weapons. "Maybe too easy," Taman said quietly, but none of the aliens heard him. They were already getting ready for what they thought would be a simple job. Taman looked at the planet below and felt something was wrong. The mission seemed too perfect, too simple, but he said nothing. Sometimes the best way to learn about your team was to see how they handled surprises. The landing was smooth. Too smooth. Taman felt his stomach twist as they walked toward the target building. Everything was quiet. No guards walked around outside. No vehicles moved on the roads. Even the mining machines had stopped working. "Where is everyone?" Goros asked. His crystal body glowed a worried blue color. "Maybe they are all inside," Crix said, but his voice did not sound sure. Vorthak moved ahead of the group. His 4 arms held different weapons. His bug eyes looked in all directions. After a few minutes, he came back. 20 vehicles hidden behind the hills, he reported. Heavy weapons, at least 100 fighters, maybe more. 100? Crix roared. The report said 20 at most. Taman pulled out a small device and scanned the building. His face grew serious as he read the numbers. "Energy shields around the building," he said. "Military grade. And I count at least 50 more fighters inside." "This is a trap," Goros said. His crystal body now glowed angry red. "Obviously," Vorthak clicked. "The question is who said it." All 3 aliens looked at Taman. Their eyes showed anger and suspicion. New commanders often got bad information on purpose. It was a way to get rid of them quickly. "Did you know about this?" Crix demanded. His claws came out. "No," Taman said calmly. "But I suspected something was wrong." "Then why did we land?" "Because running away would not teach me what I need to know about you." The aliens stared at him. This was not what they expected a human to say. "We are leaving," Crix decided. "Call the ship." "No," Taman said. "What did you say?" Crix stepped closer. His teeth showed. "I said no. We have a job to do." The job was a lie. "The person we need to rescue is still in there. That part is real." Vorthak checked his scanner. "He is right. I detect 1 human life sign in the building. 3rd floor." "So what?" Crix said. 150 enemies against 4 of us, even we are not that good. You are thinking about this wrong, Taman said. He sat down on a rock and took out a water bottle. You are thinking like prey animals. Prey animals? Goros asked. His voice was dangerous. You see many enemies and think about how to run away or fight them all at once. That is what prey animals do when they see predators. And what do predators think? Vorthak asked. He sounded curious despite his anger. Predators think about which enemy to kill first. They think about how to make the other enemies afraid. They think about how to turn enemies against each other. Tai Min stood up and pointed at the building. Those are not 150 enemies, they are 150 opportunities. You have lost your mind, Crick said. Maybe, but I am still your commander. And I say we finish the job. The aliens looked at each other. They could kill Tai Min right now, no one would blame them. Fighting this many enemies was suicide, but something in the human's voice made them wait. What do you want us to do? Vorthak asked finally. Taman smiled. It was not a nice smile. First, we need to make them paranoid. Goros, can you hit their communication tower from here? The crystal alien looked at the building through his scope. Easy shot. Do it, but make it look like an accident. Like the tower just broke. Goros fired once. The communication tower sparked and fell over. Now they cannot call for help, Taman explained. They also cannot talk to each other easily. They will start to wonder what else might go wrong. That will not stop them from fighting, Crix pointed out. No, but it will make them nervous. Nervous enemies make mistakes. Taman pointed to the vehicles hidden behind the hills. Vorthak, I want you to move around to the back. Do not attack. Just let them see you sometimes. Make them think we have more fighters than we do. And then you disappear. Let them waste time looking for fighters who are not there. The bug alien nodded. This was the kind of trick he understood. Crix, you and I will go to the front door. Just walk up to the front door? Crix asked. Just walk up to the front door. They will kill us. Maybe. Or maybe they will be too confused to shoot straight. 20 minutes later, Tai Min and Crix walked down the main road toward the building. They did not hide. They did not run. They just walked like they were going to visit friends. Inside the building, alarms were ringing. Voices shouted in different alien languages. Through the windows, they could see fighters running around in panic. Why are they so scared? Crix asked. There are only 2 of us. Because they were expecting us to act like prey animals. When predators do unexpected things, it makes everyone nervous. They reached the front door. Taman pressed the button to open it. Nothing happened. Locked, Crix said. Obviously. Taman pulled out a small explosive and stuck it on the door. Step back. The explosion was loud but small. The door fell down. Taman and Crix walked inside like they owned the place. The lobby was full of enemy fighters. They all had weapons pointed at the 2 visitors. A large blue alien who seemed to be the leader stepped forward. Surrender now and we will kill you quickly, the leader said. Counteroffer, Taman said. Let us take our target and leave, and we will not kill all of you. The enemy fighters laughed. The leader laughed loudest of all. You think 2 fighters can beat 50? I think 150 fighters should be enough to handle 2, Taman said. Unless you are not as good as you pretend to be. The leader stopped laughing. What did you say? I said maybe you need more help. Should we wait while you call for backup? We do not need backup. Good, because your communication tower is broken. You could not call for help even if you wanted to. The leader's face changed color. He had not known about the tower. How many more fighters do you have outside? He demanded. Enough, Taman said. That is not an answer. It is the only answer you get. While they talked, Crix noticed something. The enemy fighters were looking around nervously. They kept checking the windows and doors. They were waiting for an attack that was not coming. You are scared, Crix realized. You are all scared of us. We are not scared, the leader shouted, but his voice was too loud. When people are not scared, they do not need to shout about it. Taman smiled again. You should be scared. Do you know who we are? Mercenaries, the leader said. Bloodfang Company, Taemin corrected. We have never lost a mission, and we really do not like it when people try to trap us. The name hit the enemy fighters like a cold wind. Everyone in this part of the galaxy knew about Bloodfang Company. They were the aliens that other aliens hired when they needed something. Impossible done. Bloodfang, one of the fighters whispered. If you are really Bloodfang, the leader said, then you know you are outnumbered. Numbers do not matter, Taemin said. What matters is that you made this personal. We came here for a simple job. You turned it into a war. He looked around the room at all the frightened faces. Wars are what we do best. The leader tried to look brave, but his hand shook as he held his weapon. Take the target if you can find him, he said finally. But you will not leave this planet alive. We will see, Taemin said. He and Crix walked toward the stairs. The enemy fighters moved out of their way. No one wanted to be the first to shoot at Bloodfang Company. As they climbed the stairs, Crix whispered, They could have killed us 10 times already. Why did they not shoot? Because they are not sure what we are really doing here, Taemin whispered back. Confused enemies are easy enemies. When they reached the 3rd floor, they found their target. He was a human scientist locked in a small room. He looked surprised to see them. Only 2 of you? He asked. We are enough, Crix said. He was starting to understand how his new commander thought. Getting out was easier than getting in. The enemy fighters were still confused and scared. They let Bloodfang Company walk out the front door with their rescued target. It was only when they reached their ship that the shooting started. But by then, it was too late. They were already flying away. How did you know that would work? Crix asked as they left the planet. I did not know, Taemin admitted. But I knew they expected us to act like prey. When you do what enemies do not expect, you control the fight. Crix looked at his human commander with new eyes. Maybe eating this. One would be a waste. 3 weeks later, Bloodfang Company had finished 5 more jobs. Each one had been different, but the pattern was always the same. Taemin did not just win fights. He made enemies afraid to fight him in the first place. The aliens were starting to understand something strange about their human commander. He did not think like them. When they saw a problem, they thought about how to solve it with force. When Taemin saw a problem, he thought about how to make the problem solve itself. Their newest job was a hostage situation. Pirates had taken over a transport ship with 200 passengers. The pirates wanted money and safe passage to neutral space. The shipping company wanted the passengers back alive. Simple rescue job, Vorthak said as he read the mission files. Go in fast, kill the pirates, save the passengers. How many pirates? Crix asked. 25. They are holding everyone in the main cargo bay. Easy, Goro said. His crystal body glowed confident green. But Taemin was quiet. He stared at the star charts and passenger lists for a long time. Finally, he started making calls. What are you doing? Crix asked. Research, Taemin said. For 2 hours, the human talked to different people on his communication device. He talked to shipping company workers, spaceport officials, and even some other pirates. His team watched him with growing confusion. We are wasting time. Vorthak clicked impatiently. The pirates might kill hostages. No, they will not, Taemin said without looking up from his screen. How do you know? Because they need the hostages alive to get paid. Dead hostages are worthless. When Taemin finally finished his calls, he had a strange smile on his face. Good news, he announced. We do not need to fight anyone. What do you mean? Crix demanded. I mean the pirates are going to surrender in about 6 hours. The aliens stared at him. Have you lost your mind? Goros asked. Let me explain, Taemin said. He pulled up a picture of the pirate leader. This is Captain Razor. He is wanted by 3 different governments. There is a big reward for capturing him alive. So I just told 5 different bounty hunter groups exactly where to find him. Vorthak's compound eyes went wide. You told other hunters about our job? I told them about a wanted criminal. I did not mention the hostages. The bounty hunters will attack the ship, Crick said. The passengers will be killed in the fighting. No, Timon said calmly. The bounty hunters will demand that Captain Razor surrender. He will realize he is surrounded and outnumbered. He will let the hostages go in exchange for safe passage. And if he does not, then we will be waiting nearby to clean up the mess. The aliens looked at each other. This plan seemed crazy, but their commander had been right about everything so far. 6 hours later, they watched from a safe distance as 5 bounty hunter ships surrounded the captured transport. Radio messages flew back and forth. The conversation was angry at first, then worried, then desperate. Finally, the transport ship opened its docking bay. 200 passengers floated out in emergency pods. The pirates followed them, but instead of escaping, they surrendered to the bounty hunters. How did you know that would work? Vorthak asked. Because I understand what pirates really want, Taman explained. They do not want to die fighting. They want to get rich and live to spend the money. When dying became more likely than getting rich, they made the smart choice. Their next job was protecting a convoy of supply ships. The route went through dangerous space where pirate attacks happened every week. Most protection companies just brought bigger guns and faster ships. Taemin brought something different. He brought information. I want to hire some of the pirates, he announced at the mission briefing. Hire them? Crix asked. We are supposed to fight them. Fighting them every time is expensive and dangerous. Hiring them is cheaper and safer. You want to pay pirates not to attack us? I want to pay pirates to attack someone else. Taemin had studied the pirate groups that worked in this area. There were 3 main gangs. They usually worked together, but they did not like each other very much. He sent messages to all 3 groups. To each one, he offered money for information about what the other 2 groups were planning. He also hinted that one of the other groups was planning to betray them. By Dios, the time the convoy started moving, the 3 pirate groups were fighting each other instead of looking for merchant ships to rob. That is evil, Goros said admiringly. That is efficient, Taemin corrected. The convoy reached its destination without seeing a single pirate ship. Their third job in this period was different. A mining company suspected that their competitors were stealing their plans and selling them to rivals. They wanted Bloodfang Company to find proof. Most mercenary teams would have broken into the competitors' offices and stolen files. Taemin did something else entirely. He started 3 fake companies. Each fake company contacted the suspected thieves with different stories. One claimed to be a new mining operation looking for partners. Another pretended to be a rival company, wanting to buy stolen information. The third acted like government inspectors asking questions about business practices. Within a week, the thieves had revealed everything. They bragged to the fake partner about their successful thefts. They offered to sell stolen plans to the fake rival company, and they tried to bribe the fake government inspectors to avoid investigation. You made them confess to crimes they had not even been accused of yet, Vorthak observed. People who do wrong things are always worried about getting caught, Taemin said. When someone offers them a way to feel safe, they usually take it, even when it is a trap. After completing these jobs, the team returned to Omega-7 station. They were supposed to rest for a few days before taking another mission. But rest was hard to find. Word was spreading about Bloodfang Company's new methods. Other mercenary teams were asking questions. Some were curious. Others were worried. Park Min-ho, a human communications specialist, came to visit Taemin in his quarters. Captain Kim So-young wants to know how you are doing this, Min-ho said. Doing what? Winning without fighting. The other human commanders are having trouble with their alien teams. But your aliens seem to respect you. Taemin looked out the window at the stars. They do not respect me yet, but they are starting to understand me. What is the difference? Respect comes from admiration. Understanding comes from fear. They are afraid of you? They are afraid of the way I think. Aliens understand strength and speed and weapons. They do not understand psychological warfare. Is that what you are doing? Psychological warfare? I am doing what humans have always done best. I am using my brain instead of my muscles. Min-ho was quiet for a moment. The other commanders are trying to copy your methods. It is not working for them. Because they are trying to copy the tactics without understanding the strategy. They see me confuse enemies and think confusion is the goal. But confusion is just a tool. What is the goal? Control, Taman said simply. If you control how your enemies think, you control how they act. If you control how they act, you control the outcome of the fight. That evening, Vorthak came to talk to Taman. The bug alien sat down carefully, making sure not to damage anything with his sharp legs. I have been thinking about our recent jobs, Vorthak said, and you do not fight to win battles. You fight to win wars. Taman nodded. Most creatures think tactically. They see an immediate threat and respond to it. Humans think strategically. We see the whole picture. Is that why other species fear humans? Other species do not fear humans yet, but they will. Because we are strong. Because we are different. Strength can be measured and countered. Being different means being unpredictable. And unpredictable. Enemies are the most dangerous kind. Vorthak's black eyes reflected the station lights. You requested this team specifically, did you not? Yes. Why? Because you are the best at what you do, and because everyone expects you to eat your commanders. We might still do that. You might try, Taman agreed. But by the time you decide to try, it will be too late. What do you mean? I mean that I am not just training you to follow my orders. I am training you to think like I think. Once you understand how human minds work, you will not want to go back to thinking like everyone else. Vorthak was quiet for a long time. Finally, he asked, what happens when other aliens learn to think like humans? Then the galaxy becomes a much more interesting place. The bug alien left without saying anything else. But Taman noticed that he had not threatened to eat anyone. That was progress. 2 months had passed since Taman took command of Bloodfang Company. Their success rate was now 100%. Not just completing missions, but completing them without major fighting. Word was spreading across 3 star systems. Captain Kim So-young brought the news to Taman during their weekly meeting. 15 different alien mercenary groups have requested human commanders, she reported. The problem is that we only have 12 human officers available for this kind of work. What kind of aliens are making requests? Taman asked. All kinds. Even some species that used to refuse to work with humans at all. Taman was not surprised. Fear was a powerful motivator. When aliens heard stories about humans who could win battles without fighting, they wanted to understand how it worked. There is something else, Kim So-young continued. Crimson Talon Company has issued a challenge. This was news that made Taman pay attention. Crimson Talon was the most feared mercenary group in the outer systems. They were led by Thexmol, a Draknari, warlord who had never lost a battle. What kind of challenge? A formal honor duel between companies. Winner takes all contracts and territory. And if we refuse, then every alien in the galaxy will say humans are afraid to face real warriors. Taman leaned back in his chair. This was exactly what he had been expecting. Success always brought challenges from those who wanted to prove they were better. When and where? Neutral space 3 days from now. Standard honor duel rules. Each side brings their full company. Winner is decided when one side surrenders or is completely defeated. How many fighters does Crimson Talon have? 43. All experienced veterans. We have 4. Yes. The betting odds are not in our favor. That evening, Taman called his team together. He told them about the challenge. Their reactions were exactly what he expected. 43 against 4? Crix roared. Even Thexmol is not that crazy. He knows we have been winning without fighting, Vorthak pointed out. Maybe he thinks we are weak, or maybe he knows something we do not. Goros added darkly. Taman pulled up information about Thexmol and his company. The Draknari warlord was famous for his honor and his skill in battle. He had led Crimson Talon for 20 years without a single defeat. He is not stupid, Taman said after reading the files. He would not challenge us unless he thought he could win. So we refuse. Crick said, no. We accept. All three aliens stared at their commander. You have definitely lost your mind, Goros said. Maybe, but if we refuse, every other company will think humans are cowards. That will make future jobs much harder. And if we accept and lose, we will be dead, Vorthak pointed out. True, but I do not plan to lose. How can 4 fighters beat 43? The same way one human can command 3 aliens who used to eat their commanders. By changing the rules of the game. For the next 2 days, Taman made calls and sent messages. He contacted merchants, spaceport officials, news reporters, and gambling organizations. His team watched him work, but did not understand what he was doing. Are you calling for backup? Crix asked. Something like that. On the day of the duel, both companies met in neutral space. The location was an asteroid field with a large space station at its center. Hundreds of observers had come to watch the fight. Betting was heavy on both sides. Thexamol was exactly what Taman had expected. The Dreknari warlord was tall and powerful, with 4 arms and natural armor plating. His company was made up of the toughest fighters from a dozen different species. So, Thexamol said when the 2 commanders met before the battle, you are the human who thinks he can win wars without fighting. I am the human who knows that the best victory is the one where your enemies defeat themselves. Big words for someone who brought only 3 fighters to face my 43. Numbers do not always matter. They matter today. When you surrender, I will make your death quick out of respect for your reputation. When you surrender, Tamin replied, I will let you keep your ship and weapons out of respect for yours. The duel was supposed to begin in 1 hour. Both sides returned to their ships to prepare. But before any fighting could start, something unexpected happened. A fleet of government patrol ships arrived. The lead patrol ship sent a message to both mercenary companies. This is Commander Yoon Jae-sung of the Galactic Trade Protection Force. We have received reports of illegal activities in this area. Thexamol was furious. This is neutral space. You have no authority here. We have authority to investigate violations of mercenary regulations, the patrol commander replied. Our records show that Crimson Talon Company has violated several clauses of the Mercenary Guild Charter. What violations? Challenging a company to an honor duel without proper cause, using intimidation tactics against civilian contractors, operating in restricted space without permits. Taman smiled. These were all minor violations that usually resulted in small fines. But when multiple violations were reported at the same time, they could result in suspension of operating licenses. Those charges are false, Thexamol shouted. Perhaps, but they must be investigated before any dueling can take place. More ships arrived, news reporters wanting to cover the story, guild officials coming to investigate the charges, gambling representatives trying to figure out if bets should be paid or canceled. Within hours, the simple honor duel had become a complicated legal and political situation. You did this, Thexamol accused when he met with Taman again. I reported suspicious activities to the proper authorities. Taman said innocently, it is my duty as a guild member. What suspicious activities? Your challenge came with no justification. Honor duels are supposed to settle disputes, but we have no dispute. That suggests your real goal is intimidation, which violates guild regulations. You are twisting the rules. I am following them exactly. Perhaps you should have read them more carefully before issuing your challenge. The investigation took 3 days. During that time, more evidence appeared. Records of Crimson Talon intimidating smaller mercenary companies. Reports of them taking jobs without proper permits. Video of them threatening civilian contractors. None of these violations were serious by themselves, but together, they painted a picture of a company that did not respect guild rules. By the end of the investigation, Thexamol faced a choice. He could fight the charges in guild court, which would take months and cost a fortune, or he could accept a settlement that included public apology and suspension from guild activities for 6 months. You have destroyed my reputation without firing a single shot, Thexamol said bitterly when he agreed to the settlement. Your reputation destroyed itself, Taman replied. I just made sure everyone noticed. The honor duel was officially cancelled. Crimson Talon Company limped away in disgrace. Bloodfang Company was declared the winner by default, but the real victory was not the cancelled duel. It was the message sent to every mercenary company in the galaxy. Humans do not fight the way you expect, Colonel Yoon Jae-sung told the assembled observers before the fleet departed. They do not always use weapons. Sometimes they use laws, or politics, or economics. Sometimes they use your own actions against you. He looked directly at the alien mercenary commanders who had come to watch the fight. If you challenge humans, be prepared for them to change the battlefield entirely. When Bloodfang Company returned to Omega-7 Station, they found more job offers waiting than they could handle in a year. Every request specifically asked for human leadership. I do not understand what happened, Goros admitted as they reviewed the offers. You used rules and laws as weapons, Vorthek said thoughtfully. But how did you know those violations existed? Because I looked for them, Taemin explained. Every successful organization breaks small rules to get things done. Usually no one cares about minor violations, but when someone wants to make trouble, those small violations become big problems. So, you were never planning to fight? Crix asked. I was planning to win. Fighting was just one possible method. And if the legal approach had not worked? Then we would have tried something else. Economics, politics, psychology. There are many ways to defeat an enemy. What if all of those had failed? Then we would have fought, and probably died gloriously. Crix laughed. You were willing to risk all our lives on legal technicalities? I was willing to use every advantage available to us. Fear, confusion, regulations, and public opinion are all weapons, if you know how to use them. Lieutenant Lee Mi-young, a young human officer, came to visit them that evening. She had been watching human-alien mercenary teams and studying their methods. How did you know this would work? She asked Taemin. I did not know for certain, but I understood the situation better than Thexmal did. How? He saw an honor duel between warriors. I saw a political event with hundreds of witnesses. When you change how people think about a situation, you change what is possible. Is that what humans do? Change how people think? It is what smart humans do. We cannot outfight most alien species. We cannot outrun them or outlift them or outshoot them. But we can outthink them. By being more intelligent? By being more creative. Intelligence is knowing what the rules are. Creativity is using those rules in ways no one expects. Mi-young looked around at the alien members of Bloodfang Company. They were cleaning weapons and checking equipment, but she noticed they did it differently now. 6 months had passed since the Crimson Talon incident. Bloodfang Company was now the most requested mercenary team in 4-star systems. They had completed 37 missions without a single failure. More importantly, they had completed most of those missions without any fighting at all. The change was visible throughout Omega-7 Station. Human officers walked the corridors with confidence. Alien mercenaries looked at them with something that had never existed before. Respect mixed with wariness. Taemin stood in the station's main conference room, addressing a group of new human commanders. These were officers selected to lead other alien mercenary companies. Some looked excited, others looked terrified. The most important thing to understand, Taemin told them, is that you are not trying to make aliens think like humans. You are trying to make them understand that there are more ways to think than they realized. Major Kwon Sung-ho, a strategic analyst, raised his hand. What if the aliens refuse to follow human leadership? Then you have failed to show them why. They should want to follow you, Taemin replied. Fear and respect are not the same thing. If your team fears you, they will obey orders but not think for themselves. If they respect you, they will become better fighters. Dr. Han Yu-jin, a xenopsychologist studying alien behavior, took notes as she listened. She had been observing Bloodfang Company for months, trying to understand what made them work. Commander Lee, she said, my research shows that alien mercenaries who work with human leaders perform significantly better than those who do not, but they also report higher stress levels. Why do you think that is? Because they are being forced to think in ways that feel unnatural to them. Not forced, Taemin corrected. challenged. There is a difference. Captain Kim So-young entered the room with an urgent message. Commander, we have a situation. 3 alien mercenary companies have formed an alliance. They are calling themselves the Traditional Honor Coalition. Let me guess, Taemin said. They want to prove that old ways are better than new ways. Exactly. They have issued a challenge to all human-led companies. They want to settle this with traditional combat. The room became quiet. Everyone knew this was inevitable. Success always created enemies among those who felt threatened by change. How? Many companies are in this coalition? Kwon Sung-ho asked. 3 full companies. About 120 fighters total, all experienced veterans who refuse to work with human commanders. And how many human-led companies do we have? 7, with about 40 fighters total. The numbers were not encouraging. Even with superior tactics, 40 fighters against 120 was a difficult situation. What are their demands? Taemin asked. Single large battle. Winner takes all contracts in this sector. Traditional rules only. No legal tricks, no psychological warfare, no political maneuvering. Just pure fighting? Just pure fighting. Taemin was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. Tell them we accept. Commander, Dr. Han Yujin said worriedly, even with your methods, those odds are very bad. My methods work best when enemies think they understand them, Taemin replied. These aliens think they know what we will do because they think they know what we cannot do. What do you mean? They think humans can only win through tricks and manipulation. They do not believe we can actually fight. Can we? We are about to find out. The battle was scheduled for 2 weeks later. The location was an abandoned mining complex in neutral space. Both sides would land on opposite sides of the complex and fight until one side surrendered or was defeated. During those 2 weeks, Taemin did something unexpected. Instead of planning tricks or psychological operations, he focused on training. We are going to fight them exactly the way they want to fight, he announced to the assembled human commanders and their alien teams. Crix looked confused. No tricks, no strategy? Plenty of strategy. But we are going to use their strategies against them. I do not understand. The coalition thinks in terms of individual combat and personal honor. They will fight as separate groups trying to prove their individual worth. We will fight as a single unit working toward a common goal. That is still a trick, Vorthak pointed out. No, it is a fundamental difference in thinking. They cannot change how they approach fighting because it goes against everything they believe. We can change because we understand that winning is more important than how you win. For 2 weeks, the human-led teams practiced fighting together. Not as separate companies, but as parts of a larger force. They learned to coordinate their movements, share information instantly, and support each other without being asked. The alien members of these teams found this approach strange at first. In traditional mercenary culture, each company fought for its own glory and profit. Working together was seen as weakness or desperation. But as they practiced, they began to see the advantages. When 40 fighters moved and thought as one unit, they could accomplish things that individual companies could never manage. On the day of the battle, both forces landed at the mining complex. The Traditional Honor Coalition set up 3 separate camps on their side of the facility. Each company maintained its own identity and leadership. The human-led force set up a single unified command center. The fighting began at dawn. The coalition attacked in waves, with each company trying to outdo the others in displays of courage and skill. They fought bravely and skillfully, but they fought as separate units. The human-led force responded differently. Instead of meeting each attack head-on, they moved as a coordinated group. When one team was attacked, the others immediately moved to support them. When an opportunity appeared, all teams moved to exploit it together. The battle lasted 4 hours. At the end, the Traditional Honor Coalition had lost 60% of their fighters. The human-led force had lost only 15%. But the real victory was not in the numbers. The real victory was in what happened after the fighting stopped. The surviving coalition fighters did not retreat in anger or shame. They asked to join the human-led companies. Why? Taemin asked their leader, a proud Saurian warrior named Vextar. Because you showed us something we had never seen before, Vextar replied. You showed us that fighting together makes everyone stronger. That is not a human idea. That is an old idea that most species forgot. Then why did humans remember it when we did not? Because humans had to learn it to survive. We are not the strongest or fastest or toughest species. We had to become the smartest about working together. Dr. Han Yu-jin interviewed many of the coalition fighters in the weeks that followed. Her findings were surprising. They do not feel defeated, she reported to Taemin. They feel educated. What do you mean? They say that fighting against human-led teams taught them more about combat than years of traditional fighting. They want to learn these new methods. And how do they feel about human leadership? That is the interesting part. They do not see it as human leadership anymore. They see it as a better way of thinking that happens to have been developed by humans. This was exactly what Taemin had hoped for. The goal was never to make aliens dependent on human commanders. The goal was to spread human ways of thinking throughout alien military culture. Over the following months, more changes became visible. Alien mercenary companies began adopting human-style coordination and strategic thinking. They still maintained their own cultural identities, but they added new capabilities. Some companies hired human advisors instead of human commanders. Others sent their best fighters to train with human-led teams. A few alien species began teaching human strategic concepts in their own military academies. The transformation was not limited to mercenaries. Regular military forces began requesting human observers and trainers. Planetary defense forces wanted to understand human tactical innovations. You have started something that cannot be stopped, Captain Kim So-young told Taemin during one of their meetings. Good. That was the plan. What happens when alien militaries become as strategically sophisticated as human militaries? Then the galaxy becomes a much more interesting place. More dangerous, you mean? More unpredictable. Danger and safety are both relative concepts. 1 year after taking command of Bloodfang Company, Taemin was promoted to colonel and given command of a new training facility. His job was to prepare more human officers for alien commands and to develop new cooperative fighting methods. On his last day with Bloodfang Company, his original team threw him a farewell party. It was a strange mix of human and alien traditions. So what happens to us now? Crix asked. You continue doing what you do best. But now you do it with a new commander who learned from the same methods I used. Will they be as good as you? They will be better. Because they learned from my mistakes as well as my successes. Vorthak approached with something that might have been a smile on his insectoid face. You know, we never did try to eat you, I noticed. Why do you think that was? Because, by the time you decided you might want to, you realized you needed me more than you wanted to kill me. And now? Now you do not need me at all. You have learned to think for yourselves. Goros, his crystal body glowing warm yellow, spoke last. What did you really teach us, Commander? I taught you that there are always more options than you think. There are. The difference between winning and losing is usually just seeing possibilities.